Amazing.
Yeah, it's a nice way to clinch it as well. Like he got that forehand opportunity, of course, by handling that first deep shot from Novak, and then like I'm thinking, okay, so is this actually does he actually take it? Under pressure, and yeah, absolutely. I mean, he just goes for it, and it's a wonderful shot.
And right on cue, Damien, have you seen who's just joined the chat?
Nurlan,
You
Nurlan,
saw
Hey,
yes,
Nurman.
yes,
We,
hello,
we
Nurlan.
predicted it. Listen, it's the only thing that I predicted today that I got right was that Nerlan was going to join the chat at some point very soon. It was about an hour ago I said it. Anyway, he's there. Sinner, chicken dinner, he says. Vanch, did Sinner win that? Novak lose it? I guess you're going to go for a bit of both, right?
Yeah, it's always a bit of both.
Mm.
But still, Sinner had to like sort of hold his nerves and composure at the very end, and to break Djokovic from after he was 40 love up, and then make that forehand winner, and then obviously it was not the best version of Djokovic, very very far away from it, but I mean he just stayed so calm and composed, and like actually didn't have to do anything out of the or out of the ordinary to what his normal game plan is.
We haven't seen what I'm watching right now for 6 years, I think, which is him leave Rod Laver Arena in that manner. Do you know what I mean? Just walking down
Yeah,
the tunnel, which is always kind of whoever it is, whether it's your favorite player, so it's always kind of a moving thing. I always remember Rafa after he was up 2-0 and a break, I think, on Fognini, and that slumped walk he had down the tunnel afterwards when he loses in 5 sets. Yeah, so we haven't seen that for a long time, and we haven't ever seen it at this stage of the tournament. How seismic is that result in the tennis landscape, Damien?
I mean, perhaps not that huge, given that it's Sinner who recently. Well, thank you, Jane. But it's Sinner who recently beat Novak twice. But still, to do it at a Grand Slam stage, it's amazing for Sinner to play like this as well. Like where he's really not peeking out of his mind here. Like he's really just playing his usual stuff. And that's why I never like. I think I said it like around the second set that I don't believe in Sinner dropping his level because there's nothing to drop there. Like he's literally just playing
yeah,
something that he's very comfortable with. Sometimes you play a tough opponent and you just come out and just redline your game. You basically hit everything that you can possibly come up with. But that wasn't it. Like that wasn't Sinner doing that. Like that was just something that he really can pull off every day. And that's why he's been so good at this event as well, only dropping one set so far. And this is actually impressive to me that like he's getting through all of these matches easily, despite maybe not looking like the absolute peak massive version of Sinner ever possible. It's just his usual level. It's his regular level at the moment, at least. And that's awesome, absolutely, for him. Of course, we'll see how the final looks as well against Medvedev or Zverev. But yeah, it's his first Grand Slam final. It opens up a lot of possibilities for him later this year as well in terms of the rankings, as we just sort of hinted at a couple of minutes ago. And yeah, just to beat Djokovic at a Grand Slam stage and a stage he's never lost as well before, obviously in the semis or in the final of the Australian Open. That's something that I believe is really going to fire him up even more for the rest of the year. And he probably knew it, but he definitely showed it as well to us that he is ready to win in best of 5 sets play as well, regardless of what happens in the final.
Jannik Sinner is the first Italian player in tennis history to reach the singles final at the Australian Open. Unbelievable.
I mean, who else other than Panatta has ever really made finals at the Grand Slams?
I
Italians.
mean,
I mean,
that tweet, by the way, has been
only that,
ready.
right?
That tweet has been ready for about 2 years, basically, maybe even longer in terms of Berrettini obviously threatening.
first
That was
Italian player.
Oh,
Yeah, whatever.
Berettini as well at Wimbledon. Yeah, I
very,
forgot about
very well.
Berettini.
Also in Australia, exactly 2 years ago as well.
Yeah, he was
Semi-final
close.
against
He was close. Yeah.
semi-final against.
I could make
Yeah,
a burner account of this and just say hashtag Octavanch and do these. It'd be kind of funny.
I just made a very quick note, perhaps a lazy one before entering the stream, which was serve and return and second serve, which seemed to be particularly strong in that final, that fourth set. Vanch, It is a part of Yannick's game that has been talked about quite a bit in the last few months. But yeah, I don't know if we'll be getting any Instagram posts from Nole this year or Novak this year regarding Coach of the Year. Perhaps. Oh, calendar slam is done. Well, not for Yannick.
No,
It's not.
Sinner, Medvedev, or Zverev can still
Yeah,
pick up the
yeah.
calendar
Medvedev,
slam.
of course, is going to be winning
Sabalenka
2.
and Zrenk as well.
Yeah, and of course Medvedev is going to win the French Open. He's going to do the Golden Slam as well by picking up the gold at the Olympics. Also,
World number one is
Oh yeah,
possible for Sinner.
this year is a big opportunity. Yeah, this year is a big opportunity for the golden slam.
Yeah, for Sinner,
everyone,
yeah.
for Sinner, Medvedev, and Zverev. Yeah, actually Medvedev. They will be allowed, right? I think Russians will be allowed at the Olympics. Yeah, so for all three of them.
Go on, Vance. You were going to say something?
I was going to say, yeah, world number one is a real conversation, or at least since Wimbledon, you have to ask the question. Is Jannik Sinner the best tennis player in the world right now?
Since puking.
Yeah.
But I would even go further. Since
no, US Open.
I wouldn't. Cincinnati US Open, he wasn't the best player in the world yet.
No, and I know he won Canada, but that was
no.
Okay,
that
so
was
probably maybe number 2
show.
since Wimbledon, and then best since puking.
His Canada.
I would disagree because Wimbledon, Cincinnati, US Open, Alcaraz was still by far the second best player in the world. But since the post US Open,
after Wimbledon,
yeah. I'm not gonna go for that because Wimbledon, Cincinnati, US Open, Alcaraz was too far ahead. But post US Open,
that's fair.
Sure. Post US Open, we can absolutely talk about even number one for Sinner. Yeah,
he was a distant third or fourth in that period that we're talking about. So that's the problem.
Yes,
but yeah, post puking definitely. Sure. Well, not definitely. I would say that today is the landmark moment because I remember Damien sort of positing the notion that he arguably, I think, might have been the word that could have been used at that point, best player in the world during that period. But I think now it does tip the balance if we include this tournament where Novak has looked not great in the first couple of rounds, but gradually getting better. And then today he's just been schooled by his opponent. Go on, Damien.
No, it's really Alcaraz Zverev. Like this is really a very similar match.
A
couple of horrific sets from the favorite at first, then the comeback where I wouldn't even say that Sinner got as tentative as nervy as Zverev. It wasn't that extent, but still, like the comeback is there. But then again, we sort of get back to what was happening earlier, maybe slightly closer, just like in Zverev Alcaraz. But still, the performance from Sinner or Zverev on the day is really just eventually strong enough to prevail anyway. That third set comeback ends up being, inconsequential. So I think it's a super similar story actually to these two matches.
Yep. I think it's an obvious comparison. If you're Jannik Sinner, Vance, do you have a preference over Medvedev and Zverev?
I think he would prefer Medvedev just because he's beaten him the last 3 times, and also the game plan is more clear against Medvedev. Like it's very clear tactically what he has to do and how to execute it, and now he just has to put it for 3 out of 5 sets. Versus, I don't know if Zverev just comes out and he has that peak serving type performance first serve, and also there's still a question to be asked against Zverev because he hasn't beaten Zverev in a best of 5. And he has actually. He beat him at the 2020 French Open, but he hasn't beaten him in almost 4 years. So I guess there's that element to it, but yeah. So I'm gonna say Medvedev, but only slightly.
Yeah, the reason why I might go Zverev is because of the mental side of it.
Sure, but if Zverev it depends on how Zverev looks against Medvedev, right? Like if Zverev is able to overcome those things, perhaps in the semis.
Sorry, I'm giggling at a tweet here from Daria Saville, of all people. I didn't think I'd be giggling at a tweet from her.
Question.
What's that, sorry?
I was going to say, would your opinion change if after this Zverev Medvedev?
Yeah, it could do, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if one or the other just puts on a masterclass,
I think
Then
more
yeah,
so than the masterclass aspect, I am kind of just really waiting for to see how physical it is and how they look
Yeah.
fitness wise, because both of them
Also,
have
both are
spent
so dead,
so
right?
much time on the
16
court.
hours and 15 minutes for Medvedev, 16 hours 52 for Zverev.
They have both spent so much hours on the court compared to Sinner, so it could be a real factor. That's why I think a three set win actually today for either player is going to give us the most competitive final, because otherwise it might be really tough for them to compete with Sinner, who just hasn't wasted any time really getting to the final, and that might turn out really important. I don't know, maybe I'm overplaying that thing a little bit, but if
a little bit.
I'm Sinner, I just feel like no, not the fitness now. I'm talking about Medvedev or Zverev. Who do I want? I kind of feel like he sort of knows exactly what to do in the Medvedev matchup now, and he just feels quite comfortable sort of playing that. Whereas when it comes to Zverev, I guess there's more uncertainty. But yes, Zverev could very well just come out and play the most passive match we've ever seen from him in the final, or he might be dead physically as well. That goes for Medvedev too. Oh, another fantastic tweet.
It's a good
But
stat, but
that's
it's ruined.
actually a good stat. Yeah,
Great
that's actually a
stat.
good
It's
stat.
ruined by the word attacked at the end, and maybe even zero at the beginning. This was the first completed match at a Grand Slam
Yeah.
in Novak Djokovic's career where he did not forge a single breakpoint chance in 19 service games. And again, it's the serve. Funny enough, I say serve return. I was also thinking about some of the returns that Sinner was able of achieving, but actually Novak's return, possibly because he's forced into that scenario, probably has never been as blunt, well, perhaps ever in a Grand Slam match, at least according to this stat.
So has that also happened before to the other? That happened to Federer once, right? Was it 2015 Roland Garros versus
Is
Wawrinka?
Wawrinka? He didn't have a breakpoint there.
Maybe he had a break point, but he didn't break.
I mean, it's possible he didn't break, but I would think that he had a lot of breakpoints, right, on clay against Stan.
I think so.
I
Actually,
don't know.
maybe I have that wrong.
We can start checking that, but it sounds unrealistic. Like sometimes when a tennis stat sounds unrealistic, it probably is wrong, right? Like the other day,
Actually,
yesterday,
I
for
can check. I
example.
can check that right now.
Yeah, let's check that. I mean, there's no real point of there's no reason not to do it. We can try that for
Now,
Nadal as well.
Federer had 4 break points. He was 0 for 4.
Yeah.
So never mind.
I seem to remember that. But anyway, yesterday there was this stat that went like almost viral on Twitter with Sinner winning 60-14 long rallies. I don't know if you guys saw that against Djokovic at the ATP finals in both their matches. 60-14 in 7+ shot rallies. But it was just a
7
misinterpretation of the
plus.
data. Yeah, it was wrong. It was just a misinterpretation of the data that the guy used. So basically what I'm trying to say, if a stat looks weird, it usually is wrong. But this is very possible that this is his first, obviously. And yeah, who was I going to check? Nadal, whether he had a situation like this.
Nadal maybe against Sanga 2008.
You still feel like he would have a breakpoint at some point, right? It's pretty rare for sure over 3 sets.
Yeah. I like this this tweet here from Tennis World Mike, where the glasses are emerging amongst all these players, of course.
Is there Denis Istomin?
Actually, I saw a really cool stat from
It's just Yeon Chung.
Yeah.
that Jannik Sinner earned his first ATP point 10 days after Djokovic lost to Hyun Chung in 2018. And
I'm still waiting for the cool stat.
The cool thing is that his next defeat in the tournament happened 6 years later against Sinner.
Are we going to see various tennis players now, rather than hanging from that tree in the botanical gardens in Melbourne, as Kyrgios was threatening to do? Are we actually going to see a bunch of tennis players now vomiting on court to try and summon their inner Jannik Sinner?
Well, Jack Draper already did.
Yeah, exactly. He's trying. I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously he didn't win his next match, I don't think. But
Oscar Otte famously did, and then like 8 months later, he was top 30 in the world. So I guess Oscar Otte was the original post-puke variation. it just didn't last. Like his knee injury stopped it. But Oscar Otte, after finishing vomiting on court in that US Open qualifying twice, he made the 4th round in the main draw, and then about 10 months later he was around the top 30. So I think Oscar Otte was actually the original. Jannik Sinner is just a cheap knockoff.
The last time that Djokovic lost a set at the Australian Open 6-1, the Australian Open had their old what do you call it? Logos, yeah, exactly, and color scheme and everything, which seems like quite a long time ago. So long ago that I think I was there in that period. In fact, when I was there, they had the green court as well. I think in 2006, did they have a green court?
2007 was the last event on Rebound Ice.
So I had the pleasure of seeing in the green court. Pam Shriver here tweeting to lose just 3 games versus Novak in the first 2 sets was impressive, but 20 times more impressive was the 4th set and closing out. Of course, he did double fault, first one of the match, which I didn't even realize, followed by an ace, followed by at least the match point was done with a nice winner that was still heart in the mouth stuff for Jannik, and I'm sure the Carota boys were struggling, and right now I don't know what heaven they will be in of some sort.
You should get them on the show if Jannik wins the tournament.
I mean, actually, I think now would be better, actually.
Yeah,
but
maybe now.
But I did think about emailing them about 15 minutes ago, but I think you need to get them on now. Even I might try and get them on if they win the tournament, but we'll see how that one goes. By the way, make sure you tune in later on. I'll be having.
By the way, Nadal's worst sort of performance at a Grand Slam stage between in terms of generating breakpoints is actually the final against Djokovic, where he had just one.
I seem to remember he had one.
Okay. Yeah. I don't even remember the one, to be honest.
Yeah, he had one in that one, and he also had just one against Bernard Tomic, but that was a retirement after the first set, so that doesn't count. But that's how rare it is for Nadal. But I can also check Federer if you give me like 2 minutes. But anyway, Djokovic for the first time, of course, today 0.
Things that I'm just trying to think. January 2018. It's a pity that it wasn't a bit longer ago. Then you could have other sort of things. But January 2018 is the last time, of course, he lost a match at the Australian Open. And I'm just trying to think. It was 6 months before the Russia World Cup. I'm just trying to. It's a pity it wasn't like a year before, because then it would be like Barack Obama was president, blah 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 blah. That just 2016, end of 2016 feels like a seismic moment.
Yeah, it's the same Pope. It's
yeah, exactly.
It's not Obama anymore. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I mean, Brexit was sort of summer of 2016, followed by Trump and all sorts of things. Another good one is the
same Russian monarch or tyrant.
Yeah, but you couldn't have any time in the last 25 years, pretty much.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I'm laughing.
And maybe for the next 25 too. But anyway, yeah. Okay, listen. Any more sort of thoughts on this, Vanch, especially in terms of Sinner now does come into the question for me for world number 1 this year. I must say that I had kind of been very cautious on it, just because I wasn't quite convinced about how he would be across the whole year. I wasn't quite convinced how he would be across 5 sets at slams. I wasn't quite convinced across the different surfaces, but I do think it's, he must be the first 3 now must be pretty close. I don't know what the points difference is between, for example, Jannik and Carlos at the end of this tournament. He can't get to number 2, can he?
No. If Sinner wins the title, he will be 945 points behind Alcaraz. And if he wins the title, he'll be 1,545 points behind Djokovic. If he wins the title and Medvedev loses today, he is going to be number 3 in the world. Whereas Medvedev can still get to number 2 if he wins the title.
It's like the ATP Finals. Medvedev has a chance at number 2 again.
Yeah, but number 2, of course. Well, it could be meaningful for slams, but.
Fingers has joined the chat. I mean, by the way, some of the names that these people come up with, I don't know where Fingers comes from, but anyway.
He was yesterday. He was here.
I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, he was here yesterday.
By the way, wasn't Medvedev not the number 2 seed for Roland Garros? He was, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So it didn't help him out too much there. Although the
No,
draw was pretty kind after the
horrendous.
first round, I suppose. He just got
A brutal
pretty
first round
spicy
draw.
opponent, yeah.
Yeah. Nurlan's also in the chat predicting a Medvedev win over Zverev. I think I'm with you, Nurlan, on that one. I do think Medvedev will win that match, but we'll see how that pans out. And I do think actually a Medvedev Sinner final will be intriguing, and I think it's far from a foregone conclusion. I'm not convinced about this physical element as well. If one or the other wins comfortably today, I think there's been a gap long enough for Medvedev since his, difficult matches that he's been able to rest and recuperate in the previous
And
couple of rounds.
just to finish that big three analogy, so Federer has only had one match with one breakpoint generated at the slams either. So Djokovic is the only one of the big three to have one where he didn't generate a breakpoint. And Federer's match was actually that Tsonga 2011 Wimbledon quarterfinal. So in 5 sets, he only had one breakpoint in the first set, which he obviously took as well.
So wait, 50% of the players have beat. Oh yeah, because Federer in 2007, Wawrinka 2014.
But you could just forget about the other two, really. I mean,
Paul Goldstein
Safin,
definitely didn't
Safin
win.
2005.
Marat Safin did win, yes.
You can just say that if you're good and got a chance,
Not
to win,
Yeon Chung and not Denis Istomin
Who's
either.
the other one though? Safin, Federer,
but
Wawrinka.
isn't that it? That's it. 3 out of 6, right?
Yeah, but there's 8 total losses. But yeah, okay, I guess you took out, Goldstein and.
you're
Tsonga.
talking about a qualifier there, are you? In Goldstein?
I mean, Djokovic has lost at the Australian Open 8 times before
No,
this.
Goldstein was in the main draw.
Okay.
8 times. So wait,
Yeah.
what are we
It would
talking
be 3 out
about?
of 8, right? I don't know. Who
Because there's Andy Roddick as well, and
Tsonga
who's
in 2010.
then that doesn't work actually.
Yeah, so it should be
Does
3
it?
out of 8.
It's 3 out of 8, Nick.
Yeah, it's 3 out of 8.
Tell us why it's 50%. Maybe we are wrong, but
From my
it
math, it
sounds
should
wrong.
be 7. Oh, okay. He thought it was 6. Yeah. So I guess it's 3 out of 8 then.
Yeah. Because only Safin, Wawrinka, and Federer work, whereas Roddick, Goldstein, Chung, Istomin, and Tsonga don't.
Yeah.
A tweet here for Sinner not to face a single break point in the whole match just underlies the improvement in his serve, which was once considered a weakness. His return is also superb, but his defense and point construction, he can rip it. But he now utilizes these other aspects as well. Yeah, I think it's a narrative that has been building. Nick saying, my bad, I thought it was 6. No worries, Nick. Nick, have a good day. Make sure you get rested up. I know Nick, Isabel, and Bianca are going to be bringing us the Australian Open singles women's final, more or less this time tomorrow, I think. So that's something to look forward to. And before then, I'm going to be speaking to Vanch's friend. Vanch is like a go-between for me and Steve Link. Although now, Steve and I, we're on personal email terms, so don't get jealous, Vanch. Yeah,
no, I'm really happy that you guys are on those terms now, and you can.
Oh, really? You feel? I feel like you're talking like someone who's just set up a couple of people.
I know. I feel like a proud dad. I feel
matchmaker.
A matchmaker.
I feel like I've done some good work here. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like an arranged wedding in some parts of the world.
Let's be honest, Vanch. You're just happy you don't have to do all the middleman work. You're just happy that they're gonna do it on their own.
No, but I mean, like Steve is a really good get. So.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and I'm looking forward to speaking to him.
I didn't mind doing the middleman work. I really didn't mind it.
And it was short-lived as well, which is also useful. It was like, can I have his email address? Yep, let me speak to him. Here it is, and then off we go. And second time in a space of 5 weeks. I didn't think about it too much, but then suddenly I thought he'd be perfect for a Australian Open final preview, which works well. So he'll be on late. It won't be live, so I'll record it, I think, around about lunchtime in New York, where he's based, and then probably publish it sometime in the afternoon, early evening, GMT, CET, and all that other stuff. Terry's saying Fingers, he's not happy today. Is Fingers a Djokovic fan? I don't know. Jake here saying, wow, what a result, and good morning to everyone. And a result that was, at least in terms of what we were watching, should never have been in doubt. It was just because of the individuals, and obviously Novak in particular, that was involved. Is that fair, Damien?
Yeah, sorta. I mean, around the
Maybe he was the
second
better
set.
player across 4 sets. I mean, it was marginal in that third set, but
No, Fed was super close, and again, he didn't get as tight as Zverev did against Alcaraz. So in that comparison, that's the difference, I suppose. But yeah, overall, I mean, of course, and we were already saying in the second set, which I guess I will repeat, that it was never really like Yannick redlining or anything. So it was kind of impossible for him to drop his level massively unless it was like proper nerves. The type of that, like after the third set, you lose it and then you just never get back on the board, really. Thankfully for him, he is apparently, sort of outside of that moment of his career already. He's behind it, and he managed to get on the board early. He's got that first hold in the fourth and kept going. And yeah, it's definitely quite an effort from him as well, regardless of how Djokovic played.
Yeah.
we might see something or hear something in the next hour or so from Djokovic just regarding his performance today. More than anything else, what were the reasons behind it? What was going on? Was it Jannik forcing him to play like that, or was he feeling under the weather, or just why he wasn't feeling the ball so well, perhaps today? But there was also something running through my mind at points in the latter stages of the match of how deep is Novak going to have to dig here, and how willing is he going to do so? If it was 21 Grand Slams each and it was Rafa and stuff like that, maybe it would have been a different digging deep moment. But there was a moment in the fourth set, I think, when we saw Novak just sort of give up on a ball, if you like. It was just 1 point, and maybe it was the only point in the match where he did that. But I was wondering just how deep, how difficult it must be to just go, okay, I want to get a 25th Grand Slam, knowing that pretty much every statistical thing out there is yours already, and yours already by a long way. I don't know how you feel about any of those points, Vanch.
Maybe, but like he still looked pretty motivated. Like I mean, before the tournament, he wouldn't have had that thought. So, and also during the tournament, it seemed like he was, after the Fritz match, or even after he won the third set here. I think the shocking part was the game that he played at 1-2. Like to get broken from 40 love up. I just didn't see that
Yeah.
coming at all.
I mean,
That
as you
was-
said in the stream,
and
it's
then maybe after that, he must have resigned a little bit.
the point that Yannick
was
won at 40
deflating,
love as
but I don't know.
well. The point that he won at 40 love was sensational. He chases down that drop shot and then just produces a winner from it.
I think
yeah.
he was just outplayed. He was just outplayed. Sinner was too good.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that's also like a bit of a stretch given how he played in the first two sets, the unforced error every third point. Like it's not the usual baseline standard you expect from Djokovic.
Also,
Is
the returning.
Is some of that based on Sinner's quality and the returns that he was putting in and the sustained hitting? Yes. But then again, it's definitely not the usual version of Djokovic, but you sort of have to just play with what you have on the day. And Sinner was definitely just as good as he was as he's been the rest of the event. And he managed the match well as well after that third set. Mini choke, let's say missed opportunity, more so than a choke. And yeah, he deserves all the credit for it, regardless of what we think about Djokovic. And yeah, especially the first two sets, which were just extremely spotty and was like basically Alcaraz Zverev again, where one player is playing, very well, serving extremely well, which also is a correlation, but the other is definitely not at his usual quality and not.
It's very similar, very very similar, the two.
Yeah.
Vanch, do you think the conditions played any role today?
I did feel like maybe the wind in the first couple of sets could have played a factor in terms of Djokovic's timing and maybe the way he was reacting to like the sustained hitting and depth from Sinner. But I don't think as the match went on, it was as big of a factor.
Yeah.
Damien, I think you were about to say something.
No, if we're looking at that, we're not really noticing it in Djokovic's game. We're just sort of thinking, why did he make 29 unforced errors and 90 points in the first two sets? Like we're just sort of trying to come up with excuses, but we don't actually have anything to suggest that. But it is one possible explanation. Of course, Djokovic
It's
has
a theory
his,
because also his footwork sometimes when he was in position, or like those forehands where he was sort of falling backwards, and normally you see him much more balanced and like not
Yeah.
able to have volley a lot of those shots.
It's an hour left until the other semi.
Yeah, right. I know we're going to have Mario on the second semi. I wonder how he's feeling right now. Probably split down the middle because I think he does like Jannik, despite his disinterest in the Jannik match when he was in Bonn last year. I remember, but that was a very
Yeah, he
very
had to write something about it, right?
yeah.
It
But that
was
was a very
Sinner Echeverry, I think. Yeah.
I think it might have been Sinner Vucevic, and Sinner actually managed to pull off an
But
amazing comeback.
Fucsovics, we watched it, but he also was watching Sinner Echeverry by
Okay.
himself, sort of, right? In
Yeah.
the earlier round. But Sinner Fucsovics, we all actually followed because, that was a pretty big one.
Yeah, right. Ashley's in the chat, very happy. Ashley's going to be heading off to Indian Wells for talking tennis in March, so that's going to be cool.
Oh, wow.
Anastasia as well, albeit not at the same time, but yeah, they will be sharing media credential responsibilities there, so that's pretty cool. And Miles is going to be off to Dallas. Everyone's getting credentialed except me at the moment. Actually, I've applied for Argentina and Rio, and well, I've only
Still
just
haven't
done.
heard back.
Well, Argentina, I did but Argentina is just something show. But Rio, to be fair, was done like 3 hours ago, so I think they can be forgiven for not responding at 1:30 in the morning.
So, wait, sorry, who else is coming with Ashley for Indian Wells?
Anastasia,
Oh,
but not
Anastasia and
at the
Ashley.
same time. We've got one credential, and it's shared between the two, basically. First week, and not exactly, but first week Anastasia, second week Ashley is kind of the split there. So some coverage will be brought from there. That's pretty cool. Nick is in the chat. Of course, he's my Birmingham guy. Nick's like, no one touched Birmingham. We're like, all right, Nick, you've got Birmingham. That's a lock.
What about Rio? Is that just you for now, or
Just
some?
me? Yeah, just me. I mean, I don't. When I put that message in the chat earlier, but I wasn't expecting Damien to say I've just booked my flight.
I mean, if the flight was, a reasonable price, that would be a great offer. Obviously, free accommodation, right? But
yeah, free accommodation, but it's
but
quite a long way.
the flight is just way too expensive.
I mean, basically, Vance, you're the closest, which tells you something.
Probably, yeah.
About how far away everyone is.
And when someone sent on the group chat yesterday, someone sent the prices from Dallas, right? And it was like £600 or something like that. Anyway,
I didn't see that message.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was like £600 for a flight from Dallas to Rio. So it's still crazy,
Yeah. All right. Just give me. Well, let's not talk about Rio too much because we can do that another day. Just give me some final thoughts on this match, Vanch, and then we'll give it a wrap.
Yeah, it was kind of a big moment in tennis history, I guess. It was kind of Yannick just following up on all the success that he had at the end of last year, and also it wasn't a guarantee that he was going to come out of the off season not having played any warm up events and just right away be so efficient in all of his matches in the early rounds. And yeah, he kind of just continued all that efficiency in this match, and also he didn't let the third set bubble where Djokovic saved the match point, and he sort of just went right back to work in the fourth. So that reset was even more impressive in some ways than dropping just 3 games in the first 2 sets. So I thought it was a pretty complete performance, and then also he held his nerves really nicely in the final game, even though he threw in a double fault and was down 15-30 there. So yeah, it's more of the same Djokovic against this Runa Alcaraz Sinner generation, and sort of just trying to maintain his dominance over the tour, but these guys snatching it from him in some big moments now.
They're closer than ever. I mean, that seems to be the case. Blobby Brian, another legendary name in the chat. Please do hit that subscribe button, and anyone else who's not subscribed. And we've got Fingers. We've got Blobby Brian. We often have Ghost.
Blobby Brian might be my favorite.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
a good one.
Nurlan is just a regular name, but with irregular comments. But yeah, Damien, I mean, listen, we might be in no Grand Slam territory for Novak this year.
I'm not willing to say that. Like I was willing to say it a year or two ago. I can't remember when exactly, but
2022.
that this very reasonably can be, his last Grand Slam, whatever he was winning at the time. But yeah, I'm not willing to say it. I'm not willing to write him off. there
Oh,
definitely seems like a bit of a big gap between the Djokovic of late 2023 and early 2024 in how they look physically, in how they look, well, in how he finally looked 36 in a lot of ways at this event. But I'm not sort of yet willing to say that it will continue because, it's just been 2 months. Like maybe it's just a question of this event. He was sick at the beginning of it as well. Maybe that's why he also looked out of sorts for many matches here. Not every single match for sure. I'm not willing to say like Paviji that he's been off the entire fortnight. Definitely not.
No.
But I still give Novak a lot of chances, and at Wimbledon especially. But perhaps let's see if at the other slams he's still going to be able to compete with Sinner, because maybe Sinner is his biggest threat right now, or maybe Alcaraz steps it up for the rest. But it's not over yet. Definitely not.
let me just say something because I can see something happening in the next few hours. Something that happened in the last 48 hours was if I had £1 or $1 for every time I saw a tweet or a comment from somebody saying, I can't believe all these people that are writing Alcaraz off and saying this and saying that, they need to understand, he's 20 years old, blah, blah, blah. If I had £1 or $1 for every time I've seen that, or £1 or $1 for every time I've actually seen someone write that they're writing Alcaraz off, I'm having a lot more money on the number of times I've seen people. So basically, I think these tweets and these takes are not happening. I don't think they're happening that much.
No. You're pretty much you're only following some decent people then, but these takes are happening.
They are happening.
Follow them. That's just I
don't follow. I don't follow them either.
Why are people tweeting this? I don't understand. Why are people responding to it? If Bob Smith in an underground somewhere in South Carolina is writing off Alcaraz's career, why is Mark Petchey responding to that?
Well,
why is
a
anyone
lot of reasons.
That?
Farming
journalism
likes
is real.
And you're just giving it traction. You're just giving
farming likes is a thing. I don't think it's the main one though. I think you just read that and you get irritated. Like sometimes when I read casual people, like casual Polish tennis fans comments on Świątek on Facebook, I get so irritated, but I never comment about it because I'm not going to comment about it on Twitter and on Facebook. I don't reuse it actively, but
we're going to get we're going to get more takes on, say, the people writing Djokovic off are silly than actually the people writing Djokovic off. I don't think I've saw one about Alcaraz. Maybe I saw one, maybe a YouTube
I definitely
comment.
saw.
I definitely saw.
But they're just so silly. So I don't know why. And we'll get some.
But they get a lot of people agreeing with it, and it's
fine. But I don't know why you've got to say, I don't get it. I really don't. I don't. And we'll get, I might get one comment on this video or a future video saying Djokovic is done, Sinner's the GOAT or whatever. You treat that with it makes me smile already just thinking about it. Because it's so nonsensical that I don't then take to Twitter going, all these people writing Djokovic off. Nah, that's just, I don't get it. And I see it a lot in other takes. And then people start saying that, people then start copying and pasting that tweet from ex-tennis expert and then also reword it in their own way. Just saying, and people start getting annoyed, even though they haven't seen a single negative Carlos Alcaraz or Novak Djokovic thing. And they start getting annoyed themselves, even though they've not seen one. And then it becomes true. That's I'm much more on that than you guys saying, there are millions of people out there writing Alcaraz off.
You know what the best solution is? Simply, just in a few hours, start watching some tennis. Medvedev, Zverev, then challengers, and just stop. Don't read. Don't even read takes on Djokovic. Djokovic is going to be a topic in February. Now it's Sinner's time. Now it's Medvedev's time. Now it's Zverev's time to be a topic of discussion.
The thing is, these discussions and stuff, they don't last that long. Like everyone has a short-term memory. They just forget. Yeah. The next day something happens, and then it's all.
But I don't think they're even happening, Vange, that much. I don't think there are that many people writing Carlos Alcaraz off. And if they are, then just ignore them.
I've seen a lot of takes like, is
I've seen a
Alcaraz
lot
ever
of
going to
them.
win a slam again, and that he's
Yeah.
overhyped, and
I would like to think-
I
I've
got a lot
always
of
believed that
overhyped.
he's
Like in my
overhyped.
comment section, I get it a lot. Every time I tweet about
Yes.
Alcaraz, there's a lot of people that are just like, he's
comments.
overhyped.
Oh, good.
I get a
Jesus.
lot of overhyped comments, not necessarily maybe in my tweets because I don't tweet that much about Alcaraz, but like I see a lot of overhyped comments that I always knew that he was overhyped or something. And people, it's what people tend to do. Like people just tend to look at one match and sort of just take some ridiculous conclusions out of it.
Do you think a tennis expert, and you could probably name any one of about 10, and they've all said it in the last 48 hours, do you think a tennis expert's taken to Twitter and saying these people writing Alcaraz off know nothing about tennis? Do you think they're actually, do you think someone who's written Alcaraz off, who's obviously not thinking logically anyway, sees the take going, oh, actually, maybe I should rethink my take on
Well, it has
Alcaraz?
to come from a semi-credible person. It's not just going to be any random troll and bot. It's not just going to come from any random troll or bot, because that wouldn't bother me. But it's more just like
if it's an illogical path to come to an illogical conclusion, you don't then see a tweet.
Yeah, but then you kind of want to. You kind of feel like you have to use your platform to set the record straight in a way, or like make it more neutral so that people don't lose perspective. Because
if you're a flat
people
earther,
tend to just look at one match and then they just draw these.
If you're a flat earther, and this is the second time flat earthers have got mentioned on Talking Tennis, if you're a flat earther, okay, and then somebody shows you compelling evidence that shows you that the Earth is actually not flat and is actually a globe, do you think the flat earther goes, "Oh, I hadn't really looked at that"?
I don't know, but it does kind of. I can see why it would trigger people. Like it's not
rational.
You want to be the voice of reason.
It's
and you wanna just convince others that no, don't look at this take. This isn't right.
Yeah.
We shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You have some sort of a platform and you use it in your mind to for good, like for
because you don't want it. Yeah, you don't want that to be the main takeaway when it's probably not the thing you should be focusing on.
Yeah, I did, Nick. I did, yeah.
Flat earthers.
But I'm not annoyed with flat earthers. I'm annoyed with people that try to entertain them. That's nonsensical to me. Unless you're just looking for tweets and likes and people going, he's so rational. Yeah. And I've not had a drink since Saturday, by the way, which for me I was really fancying one. Just before this match began. And you know what stopped me, Vanch? Steve Flink. Steve Flink stopped me.
Oh.
He didn't message me saying, John. That's not what stopped me. What stopped me was just I don't want to go to bed at like 8 a.m. and have that like bottle of fizzy beers I had over the weekend next to my bed, going to bed like that, and then waking up at like 2 p.m. or something, going, "Oh, I've got to interview Steve Flink in 45 minutes." I didn't want to have that that happen. So I thought,
the moment the Steve Flink interview ends, you're like,
yeah. Champagne on the podium of Formula One. Oh dear. So yeah. I thought I'll go another day. And instead, and this is the respect that I have for Nick, Bianca, and Isabel, I will produce the women's final with either some kind of amalgamation of a hangover or actually enjoying a drink. I want to emphasize, by the way, I'm not in Europe right now, so it won't be like 9:30 in the morning when I'm in that state. But
it will be like 4 in the morning.
Yeah, maybe even a bit later. Anyway, off topic, I know. Listen, congratulations to Jannik Sinner on his 4-set win over Novak Djokovic today, and becoming the first person in tennis history to beat Novak Djokovic in an Australian Open semi-final at the 11th time of asking. And in fact, if you include final, 21st.
You forgot about the one word at the end.
Absurd?
No, because you were giving like a bit of a stat there, and you should have said, the one word at the end, like one of the synonyms of crazy.
Oh, I see, like otter. Yeah. But the thing is, at least their stats are a little bit less well known. I mean, people have been spinning that one for a while, including myself. So at least they go a little bit into the territory of, I haven't heard that one before, that take before, even if they are silly. But yeah, hashtag absurd for sure. Vansh, wonderful having you on board today.
Yeah, pretty good fun. And I stayed for pretty much the entire match.
Well, Vanch, I don't know if I would give you that much. I mean, you missed about the first. Did you miss the first set?
No, I was here during the very start of the match.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you right at the beginning?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Is this the same Vanch that was there for the 2018 Wimbledon?
Semi-finals.
Yeah.
So close.
You were so close, isn't it?
So close.
Yeah, but it's not. Though. Yeah, but if you said I was so close to get in it, then fine. But actually, it was I was there.
Well, it could have been the semifinals of some other event. It could have been like wheelchair semifinal or something,
sure. Sure.
Maybe I'm actually right. Maybe I am.
I think by the time there were semifinals of the men's on Saturday especially would be there. I think all the semifinals in all the other categories are done as well, right? All the other finals are basically happening on Saturday. So maybe on Friday this could work. On Saturday probably not. But of course, who cares?
Right. And of course, coming up very, very soon will be Daniel Medvedev against Alexander Zverev with Mario. And I think Jack is going to join for a bit, and maybe myself as well. Thanks for joining us again, Damien, for the 73rd time. Actually, probably 73rd isn't far off. I was going to say 73rd time this year, because Adelaide and Brisbane, and that was pretty hectic too. It was almost like a slam. And Hong
Depends
Kong
how we count all the streaming during the Australian Open, but there's definitely been like 10-hour days. I appreciate you not even bothering to ask me about Zverev Medvedev.
Yeah, I thought I'd give you the chance to have a time off, because not just because of the excitement or otherwise for the match, but just in terms of how many.
Oh, actually, not because of my lack of excitement. Okay, I thought it was because of my lack of excitement. Yeah.
No, it was partly that, but I mean, I thought if you'd be pumped for it, if it was Marojan against Jan-Lennard Struff, would that get you pumped with that combo?
Yeah, sure. They've actually played a few times. I think they might play Davis Cup now as well in a couple of weeks. But they've played in Bratislava. I saw that much live. Yeah, Germany, Hungary. It is. Zverev is there, and Hungary has all these amazing, all the golden generation plus Fucsovics. So it's actually one of the most interesting guys.
That sounds like a bit of shade on Fucsovic.
No, Fucsovic is just much older. So
much older. I know.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
But it was just,
my Twitter handle is just my name, so Blobby Brian, just as you have it here. Thoroughly just write it, and you should have it.
Yep. So, and also give us a subscribe on YouTube, Blobby, if you haven't done so already. But there's Damien's, there's Vanch's as well on X or Twitter, so you can give them a follow. And of course, at Talking Tennis TT on all the socials: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter or X. Okay, let's wrap this up, because ever since I started talking about flat earthers, we hemorrhaged viewers, and the only people left were the flat earthers and Nick, I think, and Blobby
Brian, unless he's also a flat earther.
I'm sure Blobby Brian isn't a flat earther with a name like that. And I do want to know where Blobby Brian's name comes from. So maybe Blobby Brian can join us for another live stream very soon. Anyway, on that bombshell, everyone, thanks for stopping by Tennis World, and you know the drill. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.